Hello, greetings. My name is Andrew Hyde. I use he, him pronouns. I serve as the campus minister for the Ecumenical Campus Ministry here at the University of Guelph. Since 1968, ECM has been the home of the Anglican, Presbyterian, and United Church at the University of Guelph. It's a real privilege to accompany the young adults whom God calls to study things like agriculture, engineering, business, veterinary medicine, and so many other things besides here on our campus. A young person's time on a university campus can be some of the most challenging and most transformational years they'll ever experience. And so it's critically important that the church be present through their missional commitments to campus ministries like ours to these young people, so that they might be guided by the light of Christ and supported by the incarnational love of a Christian community. As we embark on a new academic year this fall, I want to share with you and reflect on a story from our scriptures, a story that speaks to me of the importance of ministries like ours. It's a story that resonates with the experience of many university students of faith, and one that I come back to time and time again to ground myself in what we do here on campus. I'm going to read to you most of the first chapter of the book of Daniel today. I'm reading from the NRSV, where this chapter is entitled, 4 Young Israelites at the Babylonian Court. Let us attend and open ourselves to God's word this day. Our story goes like this. It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of King Jehoiakim of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave King Jehoiakim of Judah into his power, as well as some of the vessels of the house of God. These he brought to the land of Shinar, which is another name for Babylon, and he placed the vessels in the treasury of his gods. Then the king commanded his palace master, Ashpenaz, to bring some of the Israelites of the royal family and of the nobility, young men without physical defect and handsome, versed in every branch of wisdom, endowed with knowledge and insight, and competent to serve in the king's palace. They were to be taught the literature and language of the Chaldeans. The king assigned them a daily portion of the royal rations of food and wine. They were to be educated for 3 years, so that at the end of that time they could be stationed in the king's court. Among them were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah from the tribe of Judah. The palace master gave them other names. Daniel he called Belteshazzar, Hananiah he called Shadrach, Mishael he called Meshach, and Azariah he called Abednego. But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the royal rations of food and wine. So he asked the palace master to allow him not to defile himself. Now God granted Daniel favor and compassion from the palace master. The palace master said to Daniel, I am afraid of my lord the king. He has appointed your food and your drink. If he should see you in poorer condition than the other young men of your age, you would endanger my head with the king. Then Daniel asked the guard whom the palace master had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Let us be given vegetables to eat and water to drink. You can then compare our appearance with the appearance of the young men who eat the royal rations, and deal with your servants according to what you observe. So he agreed to this proposal and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, it was observed that they appeared better and fatter than all the young men who had been eating the royal rations. So the guard continued to withdraw the royal rations and the wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and skill in every aspect of literature and wisdom. Daniel also had insight into all visions and dreams. Thanks be to God for this reading. So how does this passage, this story from the beginning of the book of Daniel, how does it relate to and speak to the realities of campus ministry at places like the University of Guelph? Well, first of all, this story takes place in the period of Babylonian exile. The Israelites find themselves in unfamiliar territory, surrounded by different cultural cues, different spiritualities, different worldviews and assumptions. Daniel and his friends are a long way from home and having to grapple with the stories, the demands, the complexities of many new ways of being. For many university students, coming to a place like the U of G is a lot like an experience of exile. We have students from farms and rural areas who think that Guelph is a big city with lots of diversity and chaos and distraction. On the other hand, we have students from big cities who think that Guelph is a sleepy little cow town. Increasingly, U of G plays host to thousands of international students, students for whom things like language and culture and food and so many other things besides here in Canada are completely different from what they grew up with. Experiences of exile, being in unfamiliar settings, can be opportunities for growth and important learning, but they can also be times of vulnerability and isolation. For many at the University of Guelph, being away from home is an experience of exile, an experience that we as the church can address with our gifts of hospitality and community and belonging. Secondly, Daniel and his classmates are scooped out of the Israelite noble class. They are selected for the aptitude, the privilege, and promise, and enrolled in a multi-year academic program where they are to learn the skills necessary to serve in the Babylonian court. That sounds to me an awful lot like a university degree program, right down to the job placements and the meal plan. It is a good reminder that university chaplaincy serves a thin and relatively privileged segment of the young adult population, and that our ministry to young adults needs to be broader and more diverse than just our commitment to campus ministry. That said, the students we serve at places like the University of Guelph have such potential for leadership, and indeed many of our graduates do go on to important leadership roles in society and business and other important institutions. The question that many of them are asking, though, is whether or not the church is a viable setting for them to exercise the gifts that they have and the gifts they are developing. Every other institution is clamoring for these students' gifts, their energy, and their attention. Every institution, it seems, except the church. Thirdly, the course of study that Daniel and his classmates embark upon has the power to transform their very identities. Those of us who have gone through some form of higher education know that we graduate as very different people than the freshmen who we were when we first set foot on campus. At our school, we use the slogan, "I am a Griffin," to talk about the values we share that form us as a community and hopefully as individuals. In Daniel's case, the transformational potential of their experience is indicated in the new names they are given, names that make reference to the deities of the Babylonian religion and the assumptions and narratives that give form to that culture of that place. University has the power to change us. University does change us. As the church, we long to see people transformed in the way of Jesus. And so we need to be there in transformational spaces like university campuses, participating in the marketplace of ideas, revealing the presence of God in the classroom, in the cafeteria, in the clubs and cafes downtown, in the very lives of young people as their adult selves begin to take form. Fourthly, Daniel and his classmates show us the importance of not swallowing everything a big institution like a university tries to feed you. As prospective officials in the Babylonian court, Daniel and his classmates are entitled to a portion of the king's food and wine. They get to eat off a sumptuous menu designed for royalty. But Daniel holds fast to some important wisdom, some sacred commitments that he brought with him from home. Daniel decides that though he might engage with Babylonian literature and learning, though he might learn the ways of the court and go on to serve in their bureaucracies, there were some aspects of his faith life that he was called to hold on to. He would not compromise on the dietary requirements he saw as central to his obedience to God. So Daniel and 3 of his classmates conspire to be fed only vegetables and water. And God honors their commitment by making their bodies ample and stout, even more robust looking than the students who'd been eating the sumptuous meals in the cafeteria. It seems even biblical prophets can't avoid gaining the freshman 15 when they head off to university. Daniel's critical engagement with his learning institution should be a model by which we encourage students to engage critically with their university experience, using the lens of faith and Christ's call upon their lives to interpret their readings, their syllabi, their demands of their program, and the implicit and explicit messaging they get from professors and other important authority figures in their lives. In Isaiah chapter 2, the prophet foresees a future where swords are beaten into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks, and where students will no longer learn the ways of war. I ain't gonna study war no more should be a guiding principle for faithful students at places like the University of Guelph. But the truth is, there are still ways in which things like agriculture are taught that wage war on the environment. Ways in which business is taught that wage war on the poor. Ways in which the humanities are taught that wage war on different cultures, on women or BIPOC communities. If we are truly hoping to live into a future where we ain't gonna study war no more, we need to nurture the capacity in students to critically inquire whether what they're being fed is a warfare curriculum or something that resonates with the new life, the beloved community, the peaceable kingdom proclaimed and foretold and promised by Jesus. My job as a chaplain, as a mole for the kingdom embedded within the institution, is to help students critically and faithfully wrestle with their university experience, and to slip them the odd veggie tray to sustain them when they declare that another way is possible. Daniel and his 3 friends would go on to graduate at the top of their class. They would land important positions in the society where God had placed them. Each of them would face challenges that would test them, circumstances that would challenge their integrity and their faith. But whether it was in a fiery furnace or a lion's den, these young adults had grown not only in knowledge and stature, but in their reliance on God, their attunement to the presence of the divine even in the hardest of situations. That's what I long for our students at the University of Guelph. That's what I pray for the young people in our churches. That's what I'm hoping we can help nurture through our work here at the Ecumenical Campus Ministry, and that's something I hope you'll get behind and support with your prayers and your resources and your encouragement. If you'd like to learn more about our campus ministry or how you might support our work, send me an email at ecm@uoguelph.ca or visit us online at www.ecmguelph.org. It really is an honor to participate with your blessing and partnership in God's missional project of healing and restoration here at the University of Guelph. Peace and grace be with you. May it guide us all as well. Amen.